Welcome to Thought Cop Season 2. Hope you guys had a great Thanksgiving. If you're listening to this later on in the year, never mind. If you're listening to this outside of America, also never mind. We're taking the week off to plan some things for Season 2, and speaking of which, what do you guys think so far? Were you tired of the old format? Think the new one sucks? Have any suggestions? Let us know. Join our Discord server. We have a link to that server in our episode description. You can also hit us up on social media. We're at Real Thought Cops on Elon Musk's Twitter. We're at Thought Cops on Instagram and Hive. I think we're on Hive. I don't know. Are people using Hive? I have no idea. What you're about to hear today is a bonus episode from our Patreon feed over at patreon.com/thoughtcops. This is from our show Fire Bros, where we review different pieces of media every single month and decide whether or not to burn or save them. Join with us on this episode is our dear friend Josh, aka Sleep Science, and Nico. We review the movies Everything Everywhere All at Once, the Simpsons Movie, and Sonic the Hedgehog 2. This episode was a lot of fun. I was really happy I could put this out from behind the paywall, but if you like this, check us out over at patreon.com/thoughtcops for even more. Without further ado, here is Fire Bros Book 28.
Welcome to Fire Bros. Oops. We forgot we did this show. This week, this episode, we're brought to you by Kevin, Nico, and Sleep Science, aka Josh.
That's right. What's up, guys? Sorry we've been gone for so long. Don't really have a good excuse for that. But the reason... No, it's not an excuse, but a reason is that we've been very busy. We saw most of these movies quite some time ago, and we were ready to do them and talk about them, and life got in the way, and I do want to be doing these a lot more regularly now, so thank you to all who have supported us on Patreon. Apologies for the delay. We hope this episode will make up for the huge gaping hole in your life that has been
I think it will
happening since there has been
I think I started off strong with that good intro, and I think it's only gonna get better from there.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. And we got this is another Oops All Movies episode. We're going to be talking about 3 different movies, going a little bit more in depth on these, narrowing down the focus. We're talking about the Simpsons Movie, Everything Everywhere All at Once, and Sonic the Hedgehog 2. So let's start off.
I think we have to one of these days we have to do like an Oops All Albums. I think would be good because we do a lot of Oops All Movies, and I think Oops All Albums that'd be quick.
Oh, I have suggestions.
I could be down for that. Yeah,
I don't want any suggestions from you.
Shut the fuck up.
Well, I was gonna say after that Dark Side Jill's episode, I'm definitely open to talk about more albums because I had a lot of fun talking about Weezer on that episode.
Yeah, patreon.com/stereo so I can get more money.
Yeah. But while you're over here at patreon.com/thoughtcops, let us start with the Simpsons Movie. So I'll read a brief synopsis here of the film. The combination of Homer, his new pet pig, and a leaky silo full of excrement triggers a disaster that threatens not just Springfield, but the entire world. An angry mob descends on the Simpsons' home, splitting the family up. With Earth's fate in the balance, Homer sets out on a quest for redemption in order to save the world and earn Marge's forgiveness.
Hey Homer, shut up.
Cowabunga, dude.
Whoa. Because we can't add the actual music because we'd get like sued.
Mate Granny will come to your house and like tickle your feet.
Yeah. So what happened in the Simpsons movie?
Well, if you were not busy singing over it, you would have heard it all. But basically, I mean, to be honest, the plots, I don't remember the whole world being in the balance.
It was just Springfield.
It was just Springfield was put under a dome. Yeah, I mean, I could have just summed it up that easily. Springfield gets put under a dome.
It doesn't sound as compelling, though.
Yeah,
well, they get put under a dome to protect the rest of the world, right? Because otherwise they'll like start infecting everything around it.
It would just be the States, probably. Maybe Canada.
But we're Canada. Global leaders.
I don't care. Even in the Simpsons universe, maybe not. Maybe it's...
I was elected to lead, definitely. Not to read. So I what's your guys' history with this movie? Because I saw this in theaters when it came out back in 2007. I was very excited for it to come out.
Same.
And
same. I saw it like the day or two after it came out with my parents. And let me tell you, seeing Bart Simpson's little baby penis, like, with my parents, I was like, oh no. I mean, it's funny, don't get me wrong. I will defend Bart's baby dick, but not in front of your parents.
You don't have to. I think I'm the only one that didn't see it in the theater. I just saw it, I think, probably as a rental. I don't exactly remember. I don't think that I saw it in the theater.
Blockbuster, Redbox.
Yeah.
Damn, you're a fake Simpsons head.
Sure. Okay.
I saw it with my high school buddy who was also like a Simpsons freak like me. I haven't talked to him in like 15 years.
Get him on the podcast.
You should hit him up and be like, hey, just watch the Simpsons movie.
I should.
How you been, man?
Hey, Simpsons are still on the air, by the way.
Yeah, sorry about that thing.
Yeah, the reason we stopped talking, which was not the Simpsons movie. It was far from it.
Oh, actually,
no. Oh, just you guys disagreed on the movie that much. No, so we actually, and all four of us got together and watched this movie in person recently. We rewatched it, revisited it for the show. That was a fun little time. You know, we had some beer. We did a little bit of day drinking, watched the Simpsons movie. I hadn't seen this. Like, I think I saw it. Like I said, I saw it in theaters. I watched it again maybe like a year or two after it came out on DVD. And then I hadn't watched it since until, a few weeks ago when we got together and watched it. And I don't know. I will say that I was pleasantly surprised at how I was absorbing the movie. I think that this, because when the movie came out, it was not quite so I mean, obviously, The Simpsons the show had passed its prime, but there hadn't been this, the massive gulf there is now.
Yeah.
No, it was more like, it wasn't even a decade yet of bad Simpsons. So there was still, there was still hope that maybe they'd cancel this show.
And then, there was hope that maybe the movie would be good, like the old episodes. And I will say, I honestly think it is. I really do think it is. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of really good jokes and gags in this movie that just absolutely hold up. If anything, I liked it even more now rewatching it. And I've even been like rewatching like classic seasons of The Simpsons recently. And I do think the movie does like stand, right up with those, to be honest. I know it has, we were looking it up. It has a lot of the writing staff from like the golden era of the show who was writing on the movie. So it feels like they really were like, okay, this should be good. We can't phone it in like the show anymore. This is like, people have wanted the Simpsons movie for a very long time. So let's make this count.
Camp Krusty was going to be the Simpsons movie.
Really?
Yeah, look that up. That was good. They were going to make that into a movie. What kind of fucking Simpsons head are you? You didn't even know that? You're a fucking poser.
Surprisingly, no.
Poser.
Yeah, surprisingly, no. No, I don't know. To be honest, I found that episode is like one of the weaker episodes of that season.
It's all right.
It's fine.
No, it's a great episode. I mean, if you compare it to anything now, it's amazing. But I think of that season, it's I don't know.
I'm with you. It never stuck out that much for me, but I do like it.
Yeah. So, do you guys think that this movie could have been an episode of the TV show?
No.
Yeah, not quite.
I agree. I think that this was.
We're all in agreement.
Yeah.
Yes. Excellent. This was the perfect way to make a Simpsons movie. It just feels like to transition the TV show of The Simpsons into a movie, the way they did it, was just perfect. The way that, they had her.
I sort of agree with you that on this watch, I sort of appreciated it more. As we were watching the movie, we kept making comments of like, oh, do you guys remember like that being in the trailer and that being in the commercials? And there was sort of like a little bit of like, it just hit like a cultural tipping point where like, one of us made the joke about how like Spider Pig was sort of like the Pickle Rick of 2007, 2008, which I think is pretty apt. And there was like a level of that when the movie came out where I was like, whatever. And I think sort of being removed from some of that, I can appreciate it a little bit more because I feel like when it came out, I wasn't so into it. And then rewatching it, it was sort of like, yeah, no, this is like remembering The Simpsons when it was good sort of thing, you know?
Had you still been watching The Simpsons as it aired when the movie came out?
Oh, absolutely not.
If I
was still, yeah.
I stopped like a few years before. I think I stopped in I was in elementary school, so like 3 or 4 years before. So I was like, I'd watch it and I'm like, this sucks. Why am I watching this? This is self-harm. So then I stopped. But like, I'm still going to see a Simpsons movie because I'm like, maybe it'll get better. And like the movie's good, but the show didn't really get better. And
you have a low bar for self-harm. Watching a TV show, I don't know if that's...
No, I totally identify with that. That's basically like how it felt when I stopped watching. I was like, I have to stop doing this to myself.
I need to be cozy at all times. Any sort of discomfort or mild inconvenience, I'm going to lose my shit. So like, if I have to see like Lady Gaga or whatever, or Lena Dunham in The Simpsons, or Elon Musk, I'm gonna shit.
Yeah, it came out between seasons 18 and 19, I think.
Christ.
And
even those numbers sound high, and they're like in like 38.
Yeah. But at the time, it had been really bad for a while. Like, I know most people think it starts getting bad like in the double digits. I think it like stays at least somewhat watchable through maybe like even as late as season 15. You could, I think, make an argument that there's some. It is generous. It's very generous, and I'm talking about like being watchable. But season 16 to me is where I remember being like, oh, like this is like actively like I actually like am actively cringing throughout most of these episodes.
I don't have this experience of like watching it episodically like I'm sure most of like you have, where you like get the DVDs and watch like season 1, season 2. I would just watch it anytime it was on Fox. And just whatever episode, it'd either be the one with George H.W. Bush or the newest one, and I had no fucking idea. It'd just like be on during dinner or whatever the fuck. Like, so I don't really have that like particular memory of like, oh, this is when it was bad. It was just like, yeah, some of these episodes are good and some of them aren't, and I don't remember there being a distinction up until the movie came out when I was like, Simpsons movie. Do I need to watch this? You know?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I think I was the same as that for a long time, where I was just watching like the primetime episodes on weeknights, where it would just be random episodes, and then I would also watch the new episodes on Sundays. And I didn't know where like any of those other episodes came from until I got the box sets when those started coming out.
Oh, I was totally...
Yeah, that was a game changer for sure. But like even the syndicated episodes on weeknights, so we kind of play them in order. And if like on TV Guide or on your cable, you can hit info and it would say.
And sometimes it was random.
When the animation looked crisp, I'd turn it off. I'd go watch something else. I'd go watch Family Guy, real good television.
It's like The Simpsons on freaking steroids. But anyway, like I said, this movie was a great interpretation of turning a TV show into like a film. Like, it just has the 3-act structure, and really it incorporates like so many characters from Springfield. Like I remember commenting on this when we were watching the movie together, like how a lot of the characters from like the town, like even the smallest ones have important roles in the movie. Like obviously not every single character, but so a shocking amount of them have like, you know, speaking lines or important plot points or something. Like Cletus the slack-jawed yokel has like 2 important plot point moments.
Yeah, even the idea that they gave so many minor characters, which like where it is like an ensemble show where it's like every character plays their role or whatever. The idea that they fit in so many like jokes just like back to back to back to back of like this character does this character does this character says their punchline like or their catchphrase or whatever, like they crammed a lot of that shit into that movie, which honestly I feel like that was sort of like the highlight of the movie to me, because the plot's like, who gives a shit about the plot? The plot's fucking stupid, which old me would probably complain about. I just got into Red Letter Media me would probably complain about. But like me watching it now, it's just like, no, this is like cool, you know?
It's fan service, but like not bad way, not like in a pander.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it feels like it's like reward because you're rewarding you. It's like, hey, you've been watching the show for like a long time, and some of you have been continuing to watching it even when it's been shit. Here's a bone. That's kind of what it was.
Yeah, and I love that kind of stuff. Like, they really do reward you for, like, paying attention and, like, hey, here's this, here's that. There's a lot of, like, characters who only appear in, like, maybe one episode who are in the movie, even in background shots. They just, like, a lot of the characters, most of them are, like, there's no random background characters for the most part. Like, a lot of them are just, like, oh, that guy from that one episode and her from that one episode.
Yeah, we did a lot
and
of that
stuff like that. Just
movie.
is very, like... Yeah. What was that?
We did a lot of that. It's like, she's in that episode.
Yeah.
Wait, pause the screen. Who name all the characters?
Well, you went to the bathroom right at the point where all of the characters are on screen, so we did get to pause and look at it.
I'm gonna go to the bathroom, but you guys point everybody out.
Yeah, during the pitchfork part, we were like pointing people out.
But yeah,
I will say though, on that note, there is a point where the Simpsons leave Springfield, they go to Alaska, which I guess the joke was that they had never been to Alaska before in the show, and they've gone to many, other places.
That's not true.
I feel like that's probably the weakest stretch of the movie, and by no means bad, but like the first act of the movie is so rewarding, where it's like, oh my god, like it just feels like, just seeing Springfield in this like amazing high budget animation, and it's still very funny. The characters are all interacting with each other. You never know who's going to show up. It's really cool. And then in Alaska, it's just sort of like, well, it's just the Simpsons family. For the most part,
it's like a typical 3-act structure sort of thing.
Exactly.
Like, you build up, and then they're at the low point, and then they come back, and then it's the climax or whatever. Like,
and they would still cut back every so often. Like they had the bit with like Mr. Burns and stuff, And the people like Charlie, it just was funny seeing them all cutting back to them, like how they're all coping underneath the giant dome.
Right.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I feel like that part of the movie is just like supposed to give you a bit of a break between like the wackiness.
Actually, I thought,
and then of course we go back to it, and I think it all pays off very well at the end of the movie. And yeah, I don't know. I really liked the movie. I thought it was great.
There's actually, you're going to be like those sniveling nerds who are like, I hope someone got fired for that blunder. But do you guys remember that episode of The Simpsons with, I think it was the one where they were in Florida and they hit like a gator, and then they were like, they had like a map of all the states they were banned at.
Yes.
Did you know Alaska was one of the states they were banned at? So that's a retcon. They have, in The Simpsons proper, been to Alaska, but then in the movie they're like, we need to start over in Alaska. But they still have, as you're looking at this map, yes, I was Googling that, I think...
Oh yeah, because I think they even name the states that they still could go to at the end of that episode. North
Dakota and... I think it's Arizona, which is Arizona next to California, or is that New Mexico?
I think Arizona.
Okay, then they can go to Arizona and North Dakota, and that you can't make a movie about people going to North Dakota. Like,
I was gonna say sequel.
Which
are you guys surprised? Are you guys surprised there isn't a sequel? Because Maggie Simpson does say sequel at the end of the movie, leading me to think there would be one.
They have talked about making another one for so long. At this point, please no.
They should do a sequel where Homer Simpson gets elected president. Am I right?
That'd be kind of cool, actually.
No,
but they should fight with Trump on the White House lawn.
Well, think about the Simpsons show was not great at this time period either, but the movie was still good. What if they made another movie and it was still good?
They're not gonna. They could be like, they're not gonna pull off the same fan service type thing.
It
was just like
my
right
mind,
at the cusp of like.
Also, Julie Craver sounds like she's on death's door. Like, it's sad hearing her be Marge. She's like, I am gonna go to the store with Maggie. It's so sad. Just like put her down. Like, just cancel the fucking show.
Yeah. The voice actors cannot do it anymore. It's sad in general.
So just cancel it.
Yeah, I don't think there needs to be a second.
We're
movie.
canceling shows now.
Yes.
First we were canceling people. Now we're canceling shows.
Yeah.
Been trying to cancel The Simpsons for like 20 years now.
Dude, and like we've talked about The Simpsons so many times on like the main show, and every time the punishment is cancel The Simpsons. Like it's been said like 3 or 4 times.
Honestly, I'm done with that discourse. I'm tired of it, and no more cancel The Simpsons. I think that we'd make it worse. Honestly, I think we just keep going. We just drag it through the mud.
You know, there is
at this point, I don't really care. At this point, it's like not... I don't even consider it the same show anymore, so I don't care.
I mean, Grant, you said it was right at the cusp of the popularity, but I'm almost surprised.
I'm saying it like that when this movie came out, it was like at the cusp of... I didn't really get to finish my sentence, but like it was at the cusp of like the exact time of when you could make this, of when it's sort of like it's shitty, but people sort of like are still a little nostalgic for when it wasn't shitty, and I think that they pulled it off at the right time. But if you were to do this now, everyone would be angry.
Also,
it would be a straight to DVD sort of movie.
I am surprised it didn't happen sooner than it did. Like 2007 seems like, I guess The Simpsons started in 1989. It took them like almost 20 years to make a movie, like, and with how like white hot popularity success the show had in the 90s, it's like, why didn't they just make a Simpsons movie in like 1998 or something? You know?
Well, like fucking the South Park came out with a movie after like one or two seasons. It was like immediately.
It was during the 3rd season that they did that.
Yeah,
that they started making it, or when it came out.
When it came out. So they must have been like getting scouted to get a movie really early on.
And there was a Beavis too.
Movies came out even before its best seasons.
Yeah.
To be fair, though, I think that those guys had made a couple movies prior and throughout, and so they probably had the connections. Whereas The Simpsons was like a TV show trying to make a movie, and you saw that like. Obviously, the budget's bigger, the animation looks better, like, you know, there's some obvious differences, but, like, I don't know, you know, you can see how there'd be, like, some difference with that. But nonetheless, the fact that South Park came out with a movie in, like, 98, 99, and then it took The Simpsons nearly a decade after being on TV for a decade prior to it. It's very weird. And I'm sitting over here wondering, where's the Family Guy movie?
Excuse me.
I thought there was one. I'm like,
no, that doesn't count. It needs to be theater release.
Stewie's Untold Story. Come on,
the Stewie Griffin story. That shit was like the moon landing for my middle school. Like when that shit popped off, that was all we talked about. That was a cultural milestone.
I am surprised there isn't a Family Guy movie though.
Who would want?
Well, we're not talking. You know what? That's disrespectful. I don't want to talk about Family Guy during a Simpsons segment.
Too late. Now we have to.
It's far too late.
Well, I just wanted to say that, like, when I was still watching the episodes episodically, and this was after season 18, and I was like, God, this show is so terrible. If the movie wasn't coming out, I was like, I probably would have stopped watching, like, a season earlier, but I think they had announced that they were making the movie, so I was like, okay, I'll keep watching until the movie comes out. But by the time the movie came out, I was like, there's no way this is going to be good. And I remember seeing it in theaters and like being really pleasantly surprised by how good it was.
I mean, I really sort of didn't like it back then when it came out. I didn't hate it, but I just remember just being like, yeah, I don't know. It's not a great movie.
I think that's fair. It probably helped that I was watching like The Simpsons at the time, because my expectations were so low. But on the other hand, I do think that it like holds up really well. And I do think it's like, I think it's not, watching it again this time, I was like, yeah, it still holds up. I still really like it. I would still compare it to maybe like around like the early double digit seasons, like 11 and 12, like kind of like around that quality, at least in terms of the writing.
Ouch.
Well, I still like a lot of the episodes in those seasons, personally. But I do think it's like, I wouldn't compare it to like season 8 or like season 6. Like, I don't think it's that good.
What do you think, Grant?
It's all numbers to me. I don't have any opinion. It was fine. It looked like The Simpsons. They had jokes. There was a plot. I mean,
they were all yellow.
If I were to pick apart the plot is just, it doesn't matter. It's stupid. It's just like they took a bunch of jokes from all the side characters and wrote a story around that, and it's not very impressive, and the story isn't very good. I guess it is just sort of the culmination of like, Homer really is such a stupid person that all of this would happen, right? Like, this is eventually he would just destroy the town, and so he destroyed the town. So I guess in that respect, it's and I guess that's more of like a complaint that I would have had a while ago about it, and I guess I still do, but I think my takeaway now is that it's like, well, you got to see all your favorite characters,
and you laughed. It's because like the plot doesn't,
and that's all you need.
The plot is like a vehicle for jokes, like.
Yeah,
the plot could have really
I didn't think it was bad.
Yeah, I think it's just it is like a serviceable plot. It's like enhanced by jokes and like the characters. Like, not everything needs to have like a super intricate, deep plot. Like, I mean, I'm not complaining when something does, but sometimes simple is king, because then you can enhance other things like character development or comedy or
like,
graphics
I don't know,
or something.
Even comparing it again to like the South Park movie, like I feel like the South Park movie was a lot better than this, but like in a different way.
Yeah.
You
well,
know?
they were like at their creative, like not even at their peak. They were like going up to their peak, and they had like a lot of money. Like they had, I'm pretty sure, didn't they have like one of those famous theater guys work with them for making some of the songs?
Harvey Weinstein?
No, I don't know. I don't know anything about theater because I'm not a nerd, but maybe someone who is a nerd might know what I'm talking about. But I don't know. I feel like if this was, maybe it would have been like plot-wise, I guess, quote unquote, better if this was released a decade earlier, but it wasn't. So.
I don't think the plot wouldn't have been any better. I mean, it's a Simpsons movie, you know. It just was. It was exactly what it needed to be. I think anything more would have, if it actually had a good plot, that would have been kind of weird, right?
I guess.
I don't think the plot is that bad. I really like the Russ Cargill character. I like the idea of the city being trapped under a dome. It's not terrible.
No, it's perfect because like Simpsons is all about the city of Springfield, and just like the idea of like putting that city under a dome like that. Mm-hmm. For this like environmental protection agency like plan, like that just felt like, okay, this is like the perfect thing to like encapsulate the whole town into a plot literally by putting a dome over them and trapping them inside.
Yeah, it's definitely not the most ridiculous thing that had happened on the show up to that point.
And like Russ Cargill
blocks the sun.
Yeah, it's kind of like a remix of this.
Yeah, that is similar, yeah. And like Russ Cargill, you mentioned, he's a character in the movie only, as far as I know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
unless they brought him back.
Yeah, but he's voiced by Al Brooks, right?
Yes, he voiced Hank Scorpio, which I know I think was our friend Andy who was watching with us. I think it was him who said like, why didn't they just have Hank Scorpio?
Mm-hmm. Maybe it would have been too much like fan service for like.
Yeah. I would agree. That would have felt forced. I agree.
I mean, I wouldn't. No, I mean, I wouldn't have a problem with it. But I mean, for like maybe like it's expecting too much for like the general populace. It's like, oh, are they going to remember this one guy who was in one episode like at that point over a decade ago? Maybe it would be too alienating for the unwashed masses.
No, and I do think the movie needed like its own identity. That wasn't just like, oh, it's a sequel to one random episode, you know?
True, I guess.
And I thought he was funny. Like he has like one of the funniest lines in the movie to me, where he's like, I forget who said it to him, but they're like, oh, you think it's so easy to trap us on here like rats? He's like, no, it's actually much easier. You're more trapped like carrots.
Yeah, he has a lot of great lines because he's like, they usually let him like improv a lot of lines when he does stuff for them. Like, I think a lot of the Hank Scorpio stuff was improv. Like you ever say goodbye to a pair of shoes?
I don't know.
But anyway,
that's my favorite type of person is the person that knows all the words in a movie that are improv. Like, did you know that he that wasn't in the script?
Not even. Know that? No one wrote that down.
That's no one wrote that down. New type of guy who knows.
Stop attacking me.
It was just Matthew McConaughey. He just started doing this, and then Leo just started doing this, and then they both just started doing that. They put that in the movie. You wouldn't think that they would put that in the movie. It wasn't in the script, and it's in the movie. So now you know. Now you can tell your friends.
Did you know?
But let's tell our friends what we think about the movie. Let's rate this. I would say that I would put it in the library. I would put it on the medium shelf. It's not going to go on the top shelf. I don't think it's quite that good. But I do think it's a very solid movie, and I love The Simpsons, at least for what it was. And this is the perfect Simpsons movie. Like I said, I hadn't watched it in a while, and coming back to revisit it, I was very pleasantly surprised to see that it's still good, still holds up. And for that reason alone, got to put it up there.
Who's next?
You.
Me. It's fine. I liked it. I thought it was good. I would say, I don't know, like bottom shelf of the library.
Okay.
That's fair. Also middle shelf. Also middle
shelf.
Also middle shelf. There's very few things that are going to go top shelf for me. But this is still good. This is like very good. This is good. I don't have problems or substantial problems with it. It's just a solid, good movie.
Yeah.
Just want it in eyesight because it's like a safe, like, oh, what should I watch? Oh, I'll watch this. Like,
yeah, easy to grab off the shelf if you want it. Yeah.
Yes.
Josh?
Yeah, it'd also go middle shelf. I mean, it's probably like low middle shelf.
We're getting rewarded.
Are we doing this now?
Hey, we
low,
do that. You both do that.
It's fine.
Come on.
There's not only 3 shelves. It's an entire library.
No, you're right. How
many shelves are on this?
Gonna give me shit for making the system complicated.
It's an estimation. That's the whole point of the scoring system.
It's
not like a number. It's not 7. It's just you throw it somewhere in the middle. Do you burn it? Mm-hmm. Do you keep it? If you keep it, how much do you like it?
I do like how this has become so much more complicated than it originally was, where it's like it might as well be a numbering system now.
It basically
is.
It's
like, and I also like the burning is just burning. Yeah. But the library, there's so many shelves, which is fine. Whatever. Let's move on.
Well, I just wanted to say, just to wrap up my rating there, just that it's. I think it holds up really well. I think I probably still feel the same about it that I did when I originally saw it. Like, it's really good, especially for when it came out. I probably wouldn't recommend it to like non-Simpsons fans. Like, I wouldn't suggest it as an intro to The Simpsons. Yeah, I wouldn't recommend it to someone who hasn't already seen a lot of episodes.
Yeah, that's very fair.
But I think if you are a Simpsons fan, then you'll probably enjoy it. And if you saw it once and have been wondering if you should rewatch it, I'd say it's worth going back to.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even just with that, like the comparison to the South Park movie, like I feel like you could just watch the South Park movie and then be like, okay, yeah, I could watch this show.
I think that was a lot of people's intro to the show.
The movie?
Yeah.
It probably was. Let's talk about our next item on the docket here tonight. Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. The synopsis here says, when an interdimensional rupture unravels reality, an unlikely hero must channel her newfound powers to fight bizarre and bewildering dangers from the multiverse as the fate of the world hangs in the balance. This movie came out this year. I believe all of us saw this in theaters, but separately. Mm-hmm. And
everywhere, but separately.
Yeah, all
at once.
So I think you and I saw it, Kevin. Together.
Did we? Oh, you're right. Shit.
Did you guys cry in the theater while sitting next to each other, but sort of like angle your head away so that you didn't know that the other was doing it?
I don't cry.
We did angle our heads away, but we were holding hands. So.
Oh, well, that's very it's very compassionate of each other. I don't know.
But I don't know. This movie. I didn't know what to expect going into it. I knew there was a multiverse of some kind, and apparently a
multiverse of madness.
It did come out around the same time as that movie because multiverses are in now, baby. Apparently, so this is another one of those. Now, I guess you can say it's another one of those. And this was, I don't know. I don't even know where to begin with this movie. Like, it starts off
like
with
a drama.
It starts off very grounded and sort of like you wade into the water a little bit with it. And then there's just a point in the movie where like everything kind of stops making sense and it just like goes completely off the rails. And I very much liked how they did it. Like, I guess that there's a couple criticisms of people saying that like, oh, the first part like sort of dragged or whatever, but it's supposed to be
I disagree. What?
In reality and sort of like eventually pull you away from it before it pulls you back into it. And I thought that the way that they did that was like so fucking good. Like, I don't want to gush too much about all of that just yet, but like that is one thing that I heard and I'm just like, I don't get that at all.
Yeah, and I mean, I will say the beginning of the movie, I thought it was a very strong beginning. That had me hooked. And then it actually lost me for a little bit when they started doing like the kind of goofy sci-fi stuff. And they pulled me back in. But at first I was like, oh, I kind of just wanted to see these characters like interact in the, you know, the drama and stuff that's like from their family lives and everything.
I will say, I think that everything that was in the movie did serve some sort of purpose. That it, like, although there was a bunch of like fantastical elements in it, that you could still view it from the scope of like a person like dealing with all the parts of herself in different ways and stuff like that, and that these are all just different aspects of the same person. And while there were like comical elements and like more somber elements and more just ridiculous elements and stuff like that, like it all felt like the fact that they could do all that successfully was like very... What the fuck?
I told you, this ghetto is not safe.
Nico's just moving all of her stuff around.
No, because it was gonna fall, and I tried to save it, and just sorry. Okay,
so, yeah,
I think this won't do this.
Let's continue.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think I was ever lost, like fully lost by the movie, but I think, Kevin, like you and I both kind of made a similar comment to each other when we left that like I think maybe like somewhat early on when all of the crazy, like absurd, weird stuff started happening, that we were maybe a little bit worried that the movie was going to be like, was going to lean too hard into that for the entire runtime.
Yeah.
But I think we both agreed that like by the end that they had struck a really good balance and had ended up like justifying all of that stuff
mostly
really well.
I would say mostly. I think that there were some parts that I maybe didn't jive with as much as you may have.
You didn't like hot dog fingers?
That was probably one of my least favorite parts, but it didn't bother me.
Well, there was just like
you didn't
that's
like them
a good
putting
example.
The hot dog fingers in each other's mouths.
I just wish they didn't cut to it like 12 times in the movie. And that brings me to a good point because I think this is a long movie. Like, let me look at the exact runtime here.
Is it like 2.5 hours? They're like over 2 hours.
Yeah, 2 hours and 19 minutes. I guess it seemed longer than that. But yeah, it's a very, like, it was not a bad thing for a movie to be long. I think that, honestly, there's some parts of the movie that could have had a little bit of fat trimmed. And I think stuff like that where they would kind of like, they'd have like some, you know, they had a few good recurring jokes, but they would really lean on them a little too hard for my taste in some parts.
Yeah.
Hot dog fingers was one. The raccoon, a tui or whatever the heck that was funny, but then it was like, are we going back to this again?
Well, I'm fine.
I disagree about that.
I disagree.
Yeah, I completely disagree.
That was cute because he's a little guy.
Well, and also like
it paid off towards the end. Yeah,
just to sort of like, you know, bring it all back around to the central focus of the movie. Like the whole idea of them including that part in the movie is like the idea of like people from foreign cultures who don't speak English very well getting like made fun of for speaking English incorrectly and sort of like eventually overcoming that and owning it, you know, like I've never seen a fucking scene where a woman jumps on a man's head, grabs him by the hair, like like he's fucking, what's the name of the movie? Like Ratatouille, and like runs him forward, and thought that would be like a touching scene in a movie because it's sort of like representative of her like overcoming like these obstacles that are in her life. And like there's so many aspects of the movie that I feel like were touching in that regard, because it was like all just representative of the totality of like this person and all of her social ties, not only to like herself and her family, but like to her culture and to like the world at large and stuff like that. And like, for as weird and fantastical as that sort of got sometimes, like they always brought it back around for it to be like sort of like meaningful in terms of like the acceptance of like who one is, or like the acceptance of like, you know, like relationships with the daughter and the husband and like the father, and like cultural relationships and stuff like that. Like it all just like brought it all together really well.
Yeah, I mean, like
in a way I don't think that any other movie has. You know,
I totally.
Yeah, it's definitely unique in that regard. It does a lot of things, you know, very new, very fresh. It's like what I said was like kind of a nitpick, I'll admit, but there's still something about I don't know. There was just like some parts that just felt a little forced.
A little Reddit. A little bit.
You didn't think the little guy was cute?
Yeah, I gotta disagree with you. The
Come
little
on,
guy,
he's a little guy.
Yeah, he's a little guy. That I disagree.
Wait,
with.
little guy, the raccoon?
Yeah,
The raccoon, yeah.
He's a
little guy.
Well, no, I'm not just
guy.
talking about that specifically, but I guess I was thinking about like even the daughter's role is like that
the
sort of like.
daughter was amazing in this movie.
Yeah,
like
I liked her a lot.
I feel like I'm in the minority.
An incredible range. Like I don't think they were supposed to like. Apparently, they were supposed to cast Awkwafina in that role, and I would have been hanging myself in the theater if they had done that.
Slightly related, but I was watching that Boys spinoff, and she like it's like a cartoon one. It's like animations by other people and like written, and she has one. Like Awkwafina has one, and it's like the worst one. It's like literally like a girl like poops out something, and it sucks. Awkwafina's not.
Well,
funny.
let's be grateful that we didn't get that.
In another multiverse, this movie would have had Awkwafina doing like a really bad black African American accent in this.
But I mean, I thought Michelle Yeoh was like, she fucking killed it though.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
She's incredible.
I mean, she killed it.
Can we talk about the guy who was Data in the Goonies? What's his?
Yes.
Yeah, Jonathan.
And Short Round.
Yeah, I was like, the entire movie, I was like, where have I seen him before? And then I was like, he sounds and looks familiar. And then I look it up.
I think
Yeah.
is his name.
And then I Google it.
Yeah, no,
and I'm like, whoa.
He was also amazing.
Yeah, he was perfect for that role.
The two of them in this movie had like such amazing chemistry, and like that was for me, that was like what really did the movie for me so much. And like even the grandfather, who is James Hong, you've probably seen him in a lot of roles over the years, but I thought he was great too. I mean, there was just a lot of characters, like, you know, I mentioned the movie being long, but like they really used that runtime to expand on the characters, like, you know, personalities and experiences like really well. And like, you know, because even like the grandfather, I thought he was just going to be like, you know, the comic relief in a wheelchair the whole time, but he ended up like
mattering,
having his own realizations and stuff throughout the movie, and you know, kind of learning and growing on his own.
I did find the movie really touching. Like the end.
It
get
was,
to me.
yeah.
I feel like
it was very touching.
This is my like. I don't know if it's unpopular, but I feel like the drama with like the husband and wife way more interesting than the mom and the daughter.
I agree.
I mean, it's centered around her character and her accepting all these facets of her life. And like, well, I think that there were parts that were more or less touching. It's like Kevin said, they really pieced apart every single aspect of everything about all of it, and just like
all at once.
All at once, and just sort of like every single through line of like, you know, this is my expectation for my daughter, but this was my father's expectation for me. And the reason why I'm disconnected from my daughter is because of my family. And a lot of the family trauma happened because of this relationship with my husband. And I haven't like sort of like come to terms with that. And so like as it relates to everything else, like my relationship with all these people is strained, and what am I going to do to fix it? And it was like a very like just how everything affects everything regarding all of that.
Yeah.
Can I say
Grant, I'm starting to think I understand why the movie got that name.
Can I say that
because
like
of the 3-act structure? They titled all the acts.
Can I say that like the editing on the movie was like absolutely ridiculous? It was like the way they had to weave everything together and like take all of these separate elements.
I don't know how the fuck they filmed it.
Me either.
I'll be honest. I don't fucking understand.
Because it was like so much variety, each like little snapshot. And I saw like a post of like the makeup looks that they did. Like, because she'd have like weird makeup like every little scene. I'm like, do you know how much time and energy that would took? Like,
it was just like hundreds of costumes per character.
Yeah, and the costumes were insane.
And like how much did like I'm assuming this movie made a lot of money. It's still in the theaters, but
I know.
What was the budget? It couldn't have been that much.
I don't think that the budget was not that much. I don't know how much numbers are, but I feel like I heard like 50 million, which apparently in Hollywood is not that much. I would have to double check it,
especially for how like
I went on a binge of reading a bunch of like behind the scenes related stuff and stuff from the directors, the Kwans, or the. Is that excuse me, not the Kwans. They're the Kwan is one of them. The Daniels,
Daniel Kwan, the Daniels,
Kwan and Daniel Scheinert, something like that. Scheinert. Okay. But I was reading like stuff from them, just like shouting out all of the different people who worked on the movie, and it sounds like they had like personal relationships or made personal relationships with like every single like crew member on the movie. And were like heavily involved in like every aspect of it. And it seemed like they cultivated like this, what seemed to be like, for what must have been an absolutely insane, difficult movie to make, looked like they cultivated one of the most like pleasant and like enjoyable like movie sets to like work on of anything I've ever seen. It was like, seeing more of that stuff made me appreciate the movie like 10 times more.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that love and attention probably like worked its way into the movie itself, and that
you can tell like there was effort
treating your staff well.
Yeah, it's like you can tell there was like effort, like they genuinely enjoyed making it, whereas like some shit is just like you can tell it's just a bunch of like freshly graduate like graphic art students like slaving away at this, and they're gonna get like fired as soon as like the movie comes out, so they don't have to pay them their bonus. But like I don't know, I feel like
I read that good. Sorry
I was just saying it just felt like it seemed like there was like a labor of love. That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah. And I think that also spreads to like why the actors even took the movie in the first place. Like Jonathan K. Kwan like had stopped doing movies for decades up until this came out. Like, I think he said particularly when, what's that? It's like
Crazy Rich Asians.
Rich Asians or something like that.
Crazy Rich Asians?
Crazy Rich Asians. That I think Michelle Yeoh was in that. And when that came out, he was like, oh, I finally some like good roles for like Asian Americans that aren't just, like
minstrelly.
Just like ridiculous, and so they both got involved in it because of like the complexity and care and the story that it was telling and like the way that it was doing it and stuff. And like, you can tell that there was like a lot of heart that went into like the creation and just every aspect of it. Yeah. Because I don't think that a movie like this could be made without people like backing the project, because otherwise without a lot of those elements it would have been Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness.
Well, I think I read that Michelle Yeoh like fought to help get the movie made in the first place, like when she like took it on and like read the script, and she like was like a heavy advocate for getting it greenlit.
It's not often like there, it's not often there's like a big budget movie or a big movie like this that has like the starring actor is like a middle-aged woman,
Yeah, it's usually like
let alone like
it's like specifically like broad movies, like chick flicks. Not even chick flicks because those are 20s. Like it's like I'm trying to think like of movies where that's, or if it's not a romance, like a mainstream not targeted for women movie where it's like a middle-aged woman made it, because I'm drawing blanks.
Yeah, and even like I think that they were going to cast her role with like Jackie Chan at first, and then they went, oh no, like either they couldn't get him or they changed their mind, and like when she was on board, it was just like, oh, this is so much better of like a decision than that would have been. Like there's so many ways that this movie could have gone so much more wrong.
Yeah. Well, I think I also read that there's like a lot of biographical elements to the movie, and like that they were like writing sort of a different type of movie, but then like because I think they started writing it before the pandemic, but then the pandemic like sent them like everyone into like depression and stuff, and I think they decided that they had to make a much more personal feeling movie, and ended up working a lot more of like their own upbringings and stuff like that into it.
Yeah, I know these guys also directed that movie Swiss Army Man, which I wasn't really big on.
Oh, you did see it?
Yeah, I
just watched it recently.
Saw it a few years ago or whenever, I don't know, some point. And I didn't hate it, but it was very I don't know. It didn't click with me very well, and like I could definitely see like the visual gags in that movie were very much like ingrained into this movie as well, but just executed better.
That's basically how I felt about that movie too. I didn't dislike it, but it definitely wasn't this movie, and I don't know. I didn't quite click with it is the right way to put it.
Yeah. I feel like that if they hadn't had that shift in tone or, mentality, we probably would have got a Jackie Chan Everything Everywhere All at Once. It was more of like a forced like slapstick comedy like that was.
Yeah, and I mean like I think the thing that intrigued me so much was like the personal aspect of like storytelling through these sci-fi elements of like a multiverse and shit like that, because as you sort of mentioned when we began talking about it, like everything's a multiverse now, and it all just fucking like I hate to say that it sucks because there's so many things that I like, but it feels like one of those tropes where it's like I get it, there's 100 Spider-Men, like how many movies of 100 Spider-Men, and Doctor Strange has his own multiverse now, and everyone has their own multiverse, and it's like, I'm kind of sick of this being a thing that everyone's doing now all at once.
Yeah.
But this did feel like the correct way of utilizing, like, again, from an editing standpoint of like how the stories sort of like intersected and like wove into like the tapestry of what exactly was happening at every individual moment. I thought that from an editing standpoint that was done really well, but also from like a story like standpoint, a storytelling standpoint, it was like very purposeful and driven by like the decisions of the characters as they were being made. And I think sometimes it was a little more obvious and sometimes it wasn't more obvious, but eventually you'd get to a certain payoff of like, oh, here's a realization that I made, but how do I like reach the next level of what I'm trying to do because I'm in the fucking gargoyle dimension or whatever the fuck. And like the ability to take something that sort of fucking weird and then be like, oh, this is why your relationship with your daughter is fucked up, is like, again, like I have not seen anyone pull that off as successfully as this movie did in those regards.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it seemed like all of the multiverse stuff was mostly like
metaphor,
like just like a representation of her existential crisis, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're not going to get a sequel. We're not going to get a... Well, we might. I don't know.
I hope not.
I hope not.
Shit does not always need a sequel. Like, I'm sick of this. I'm sick of this world where everything needs a fucking sequel. Sometimes a standalone... anime is right a lot of times. Standalone stories just let it
standalone complex.
But hopefully,
I do just real quick I want to real quick just go back to the thing that I initially started gushing about, which was like how they introduced the multiverse element too, because that that might have been my favorite part of the whole movie, and like I had a lot of favorite parts of the whole movie, but like again, they started the story from like a very grounded place of like, here's your family, here's your problems, here's the tax lady, whatever. But then as they started like breaking apart reality a little bit to be like, hey, there's a multiverse, gotta go, bye. Hey, go in the closet, gotta go, bye. And then eventually, like, that fucking scene where her husband eats the tube of lipstick, and then was like, I think that was one of the most tense scenes I've seen in any fucking movie, because it's like you're accepting the idea that like there's this multiverse and that this is the ride that we're all along with, but that the characters in this movie may or may not realize it, as this guy is fighting people off with a fucking fanny pack and eating a tube of lipstick and just doing weird fucking shit. And it was like, I don't think I've ever seen a better fight scene in any movie. Like, I don't think I've seen as tense and weird of like a fucking moment as I did like in that particular scene. Like that, I feel like that's the scene that like sold me on the movie, or I was just like, this is fucking nuts,
Yeah, and on that note too, I loved how the ability to tap into the multiverse and switch over was you had to do something that made you like physically uncomfortable. Like sometimes it's painful, sometimes it just was like, ugh, that just was such a funny little unique detail that I really enjoyed.
One of the most painful scenes I think I've also seen in any movie is when he's purposefully giving himself paper cuts. Like for some reason that was just like, man.
Oh my God.
I'd rather watch someone get stabbed 6 times than watch someone just give himself 30 paper cuts on his hand.
I'd rather watch Titan.
Jesus, yes. I'd rather watch Titan twice.
Yeah.
Did you guys have any final thoughts on this before we give our final deliberations?
Good movie.
Thoughts?
It's good movie. Not the greatest. I think it's just a tad overrated. But I'm okay with it because it's so not like anything else. Fine.
I agree. I honestly agree with that 100%.
Thanks.
I think I came out of it feeling like it, like I was like, because I had heard a bunch of hype going into it, and I was like,
y'all need to stop listening to hype and just enjoying things.
Yeah,
because I feel like I enjoyed this very much, and I don't buy into any hype. I mean, anything.
I loved it, but I think when I first came out of it, I was like, yeah, I really liked that, but like maybe it wasn't as good as the hype said. But I think as I've let it like sink in more, I've just like it's really grown on me, and I think I've gotten to the point where I just like unapologetically love it.
So I'll say that I would put it I will put it in the lower middle shelf, just above the high bottom shelf.
We're doing this now. The low, middle, whatever.
Just whatever you want to say. It doesn't matter.
Fine.
They're just words.
It's middle shelf for me. It's gonna be there with the Simpsons movie.
I'll put it top shelf. That's how much it's grown on me, and I feel like I could watch it like several more times.
I mean, I
really enjoyed Sam Raimi's direction. I thought Doctor Strange was really good. All the different universes.
I know you would find a way to defend Doctor Strange in our serious conversation.
I just really like America Chavez. Right? Okay.
More like Dr. Also, hey, I'm trying to make a joke. More like America.
LGBT pin. All right? It's gay pride.
Well, let me finish my joke. More like Dr.
Representation.
Stop. More like
Josh, let her make fun of you.
More like Dr. Soy Range.
Oh fuck.
No, we already heard that one.
Can't believe you let her say that. God.
I know, Greg, before you give your review, I wanted to give a shout out to you because during the Simpsons movie, you made a comment, I think, towards the end of the movie when Bart and Homer are having that conversation where he's like, maybe I just treat you this way because my father did this to me when I grew up. And then I think you said, like, the Simpsons movie walked so everything everywhere all at once could run.
Classic.
Yeah. But where are you putting it in the library?
I mean, yeah, I agree with Josh. I would say this is a top shelf movie for me. I liked it. I feel like maybe more. Maybe the two of you, when you saw it, you weren't coping with your toxic masculinity enough by sitting within range of each other, and you couldn't just sit there and just be emotional. I feel like the movie was like very.
It was.
Like emotional, and not just in the sense of like, I feel like the word emotional gets this connotation of like sobby, but it was like emotional in, it was cathartic, and it was emotional in the sense that there were so many different emotions that were packed in, and like it all felt like very genuine. Like, you know, obviously there's like the heartstring tuggy type stuff, but like even like the one scene where they tied up the daughter in the chair and they think that she's like evil or whatever the fuck. And they're like, the daughter's like, what the fuck are you talking about? And she's like trying to explain. She's like, oh, there's this multiverse and it's all this and like blah, blah, blah. And it's like the movie Ratatouille or what, where it's the whatever. And they're all like laughing at her because it's like, Mom, it's not a raccoon, it's a rat. And they're all just like, for the first time in however many years, they're like genuinely laughing together as a family sort of thing. It's like, that was just like maybe one of the most honest portrayals of like humor in that regard. And there was like so much like honesty within the movie. And again, like in these pockets of like these fantastical elements that sort of like tied it all together to make it so weird. But like, if you would have taken the story and just made it a pure drama, I also feel like it wouldn't have been as good. Like it needed that like elevated sense of like, this is fucking nuts, but like we're still tying this back into like the story in and of itself. And like just every scene, I feel like I was like dialed into like what was happening, because it's like, well, if this is happening, like what's next and what does this mean? And like, what does this represent? And like there was just so much emotion within every aspect of it. And I feel like a lot of shit like just doesn't do it, or like just tells you how to feel about things, and instead of like letting you feel ways about things, you know? So for that reason, top shelf.
Nice. Well, speaking of what's next, let's move on to our last item on the docket for the evening. Sonic the Hedgehog 2. After settling into Green Hills, Sonic is eager to prove that he has what it takes to be a true hero. His test comes when Dr. Robotnik returns with a new partner, Knuckles, in search of a mystical emerald that has the power to destroy civilizations. Sonic teams up with his own sidekick, Tails, and together they embark on a globe-trotting journey to find the emerald before it falls into the wrong hands.
I don't remember any of that. All I remember is when the girl and like the police officer fell in love.
I just cared about Sonic and Tails being friends. That's all I cared about. I don't remember that much of the plot. I just all the moments with them being buddies were so cute. That was I was like, aww.
They should have just made that the movie. Why do they keep putting these fucking
people
bland white bread fucking like it's the most boring part of these movies is the fucking donut lord.
I know.
I don't care about the human beings. I care about the fuzzy animals that they made with CGI.
I agree. I'm glad they dialed that down from the first one, because I didn't give a shit about.
Yeah, they did.
I don't give a shit about the donut cop. Like, Sonic is clearly a thin blue line supporter, but I'm glad they toned that down, because Tails and him are so cute.
Did they tone it down?
Because
I wasn't joking.
Wedding.
All I can remember about this movie is that 20 to 30 minute wedding segment where Sonic's not even there, and we're just following like these characters trying to like infiltrate the FBI and then falling in love.
Yeah,
I remember. at that point in the movie, like I think I turned to you, Kevin, and I was just like, this is the best Sonic movie I've ever seen, because he hadn't like been on screen. He hadn't been on screen for like 20 minutes.
Here's the thing, though.
That was the funniest that Sonic was the whole time, is when you leaned over and said that.
Here's the thing, though. The first movie had only like at the very end after the trailer, like 30 seconds of Tails. This had like a good portion of Tails was in this. Like there's more Tails in this one than the other one.
The Tails ratio was on point.
We got to watch them dance to Uptown together.
I'm not even lie.
I forgot about that.
That sequence was probably one of the more tolerable ones in the movie.
They wrote the fucking script in like 2018, and then COVID happened, and they're like, "Fuck, we gotta still use the song, I guess."
Oh man.
Jesus.
If they wanted to make it a little more modern, they just put like Old Town Road or something. They do like a cowboy
That would have been
thing.
the same.
It's the same thing, but
I think that, I mean, we're not talking about the first movie because we already did that, but I think Tails should have been introduced in the first movie more than just the last 30 seconds, because I felt that his introduction in this movie was like overshadowed by Knuckles quite a bit.
True.
Because it was like we got, for all intents and purposes, we got introduced to Tails and Knuckles in this movie. And I feel like I would have rather had more time to see Sonic and Tails do stuff first before, like, Knuckles getting involved and everything. But I would say if we're comparing it to the first movie versus this one, this is like this felt much more like a Sonic the Hedgehog movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you mentioned the people, like, that's a valid criticism, but I don't. Like, in the Sonic games, at least a good number of them, like, there are people in the games, and, like, obviously
That's
Dr.
not
Eggman.
a defense of this.
Yeah, but, like...
Well, like, Dr. Eggman is, like, a person, and, like, in some of the Sonic Adventure games, there's people, like, Sonic Adventure 2, the president is there, there's, like, a government and everything. It's not super in the forefront. It's less so in the games than the movie, or than the movies.
I can't believe that you're like, hot dog fingers ruined everything everywhere all at once for me. But to be fair to the Sonic movie, there's people in the Sonic the Hedgehog universe.
Yeah, in
the
the bad Sonic games, there's people like 06. Doesn't he like kiss like a human girl? And I'm like, this is fucking disgusting.
And I can't wait to see
the
it in the
only
movie.
one who has played that game.
I never played it. I just know that it exists and that scene exists. I had a friend that would defend that movie.
I hope that
sure
if they keep making these movies, that they do just like encounter more and more of those like elements that the internet loves so much.
At some point they will.
Get Charmy the Bee or whatever. Get Rouge the Bat.
Chris Chan in it.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah, I hope these movies just get worse, honestly.
I wonder if there's like a fucked up like version of like Tails, like the original Sonic that looked like a freaking homunculus. I wonder if there's like a homunculus Tails.
Uganda Knuckles. He's going to be in the fifth movie.
It's not what I said, but all I can say is that
that's
Tails
what I said.
That's the only thing I'm really
a different person.
Can say about this movie is Tails and Sonic being buddies was cute, and then when Knuckles teams with them, I'm like, yeah, it's my three dudes. They're gonna fight evil.
Yeah, honestly, there was several points of the movie where I was like sitting there and thinking like, why am I enjoying this?
I was thinking that too. And another fucked up thing in my mind that came up was like, there's no way the Mario movie's going to be this good.
I had the same thought. And I was thinking yesterday, I'm like, we have to review that out.
The day it comes out, we're going to theater.
Oh yeah.
We're
gonna dress up.
Yeah. Hey, that's Illumination.
Overalls.
It's Illumination.
I'll see the Mario movie.
Gentle Minion style.
I'm probably more excited for the Mario movie than I am for these. Not because I think it's going to be not a dumpster fire, but I don't know.
No, but I thought like there was just like a lot of stuff. I don't know. This felt like it would. I feel like when I saw it, I had this thought in my mind where it was more like this kind of felt like a correction of what the first movie was going to be, because I think that
it was definitely better.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
I don't even know.
I feel like
it was
how
better. There's no way that it was worse.
Because I remember thinking, like, why, at the end of the movie, the first one, like, Eggman has this classic, oh, now he's bald with a mustache. I think that they only did that because, like, they shot all of his scenes. Like, well, we can change Sonic because he's CGI, but we can change Eggman. So let's just film one last scene with Jim Carrey and then have him look like that. And we'll tie it. So it just feels like they took all the criticisms. So in a way that feels like kind of like lazy and hacked to just be like, okay, well, we're going to just make one. And if people don't like it, we'll just make another one and we'll make it what people want, which is, not a bad thing, but it also feels like it lacks confidence in a way.
Well, at least like, cause I would argue the opposite because I feel like the original was like a board meeting, like was like, this is what you're going to make the Sonic movie like. And then this, they got all that backlash because the homunculus version of Sonic. And then like, they're like, oh, and then, they changed it and then the movie did well, I'm assuming. So they're like, okay, we'll give you can make the Sonic movie you want. So I feel like this is probably actually closer to what they originally wanted to make, but like executive meddling got in the way in the original. My theory.
It was also very much like, as far as you can say that there's a plot to the original Sonic games, like, it felt like what sort of Sonic 2 was, just plus some extra plot, plus some people.
Yeah.
And within that, like, realm of it, it was more interesting than, like, wow, I sure love this part of Utah called Green Hill Zone, and my best friend is a cop, and like there's no other elements other than Eggman, and nothing fucking makes sense. It's like at least there's Tails, there's Knuckles, there's Eggman with more robots this time, and he's the big Eggman.
There's like that weird labyrinth section.
I was just going to say that, Josh. The locations in the game, like the labyrinth where Sonic and Knuckles are fighting for the Master Emerald, felt like something you could see in the games. I'm like, this is perfect. This is exactly what this had to be.
Yeah.
Or like when Sonic and Tails are like snowboarding down the mountain. I'm like, this is totally Sonic.
Yeah, there were way more,
but
there were way more interesting elements than the first movie for sure. I think maybe the reason I consider them somewhat on par is because like the first one at least felt like the plot was like decently well structured. In this one, I felt like the pacing and the structure was just like all over the place, and I like it just feels like a jumble in my brain. It was just like from one crazy thing to another crazy thing, and like nothing hung together. And then like there was that whole like wedding sequence where the movie just like screeches to a halt and like becomes something else for like a half hour. And
I mean that's a mirror dimension version of you from an hour ago talking about the Simpsons plot, which is that I don't care about the plot of these movies. The first movie wasn't good, so I don't care about the plot, and the second movie had the characters in it, so I don't care about the plot. Like there's that element of like, at least with the Simpsons movie, you can say like, oh, they put all the Simpsons characters in it or whatever the fuck. But it's just like the first Sonic movie just felt like a really shitty buddy cop movie where one of the buddy cops was Sonic. And like this movie at least was like, yeah, they go to like it doesn't need to have a plot because the fucking original Sonic game, like the original Sonic games didn't have like real strong plot elements. I just want to see him run fast. I want for him to go fast. I want for Tails to do a tail helicopter, and I want to watch Knuckles punch thing, and I want to watch Dr. Eggman get in a big robotic version of himself, and then he does a spinny move, collects all the emeralds, turns into Super Saiyan Sonic, and then wins. And that's all that I want, and that's what I got. And yeah, the wedding was terrible.
That's fair. I guess it just didn't make much of a difference to me because I didn't care about any of those things. Like I didn't necessarily want or really find any of those things really appealing.
You didn't find.
I mean, that's also that's the challenge of like adapting a video game into a movie, where it's like, yeah, grand, those elements you said are why we like these sorts of things, and that's what a video game hinges on, is these simple pleasures of like, oh, you can run fast, you can punch walls, you know. But then executives are like, how do we turn this into a movie? And it's like, you don't have to, right? You know, it's not built for that.
Well, and even like man, I feel like Detective Pikachu was such a better movie than the first Sonic movie.
Oh, for sure.
It did way worse, not way worse, but it did worse than it. And then Sonic got a sequel and Detective Pikachu did not. And I'm just like, but that was the good one. We did the good video game movie, and now there's no sequel to it, but I have to sit through Sonic 2 in the theater with my other two 30-year-old friends.
I'm not 30 yet,
we had a
by
good time,
the way.
okay?
So just letting you all know I'm not 30. But really, I'm just shocked.
Well, no, I saw this with... Yeah, whatever.
Well, whatever. But I'm shocked there isn't a second Detective Pikachu movie just because, like, Nintendo makes so much money. They scrapped it.
Yeah, I am surprised too. Yeah,
that's crazy. But
I don't know.
But there was a lot of stuff, like, even like I said for the Simpsons movie, like even for like people who played the Sonic games, like I haven't played a new Sonic game besides Sonic Mania in a long time, and I don't think I'm missing much.
No.
But you know, I played most, if not all, of the classic ones up through like Sonic Adventure 2, Sonic Heroes, stuff like that, and there was like little references in the movie that were like alluding to things from those games, which is kind of fun. So it was like, oh, like, you know, if you pay attention, it rewards you for certain stuff, which the first movie had none of that. I think like one of my favorite beats was the coffee shop that they Eggman's henchman worked at was called the Mean Bean Machine.
Yeah,
Oh my God,
I noticed
the
that.
coffee shop thing that like transformed. Oh my God, I forgot all about that.
But it's like there's a game called like Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine, which is like it was like a reskin of like Puyo Puyo, like a puzzle dropping game, like Tetris kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then there was also like the gun, which I guess that ended up being like plot heavy at some point, but like it ended up, you know, they were like a big part of like Sonic Adventure 2. And there was probably a few other things like that were just little things that made it feel like, oh, this is like, there was a lot more love and care put into this than the first movie. And it felt like, you know, like I said, it's tough to adapt a video game into a movie, but I thought that this did it very well. I don't hate the human characters because I think that for a Sonic movie, it does kind of make sense. I don't want to see them super often.
They could have just made the actors better. Like,
yeah.
Well, yeah.
Man.
I mean, they struck a better balance with it in this movie. Like, if they didn't have the wedding scene, I think that people would be complaining about it a lot less.
Yeah.
Or if the wedding scene was maybe like, you know,
cut
5% of
cut that shit
of what it was.
But
I just remember like being in the theater and seeing the scene where like the bride was like trying to run over the groom with like the golf cart or whatever, and like all the smooth brains in the audience just being like, and it's like, oh my God,
that was me.
I can't.
Yeah.
I was literally, I think I was like going insane during that part of the movie. That's how much it affected me. I was like, what is happening?
So I have a question. That post credits with spoilers for people for people
soy face.
Yeah, spoilers for people who haven't seen this, even though you shouldn't be listening to it if you haven't watched it. But Shadow is in a fucking test tube. Ooh.
My first thought was, my first thought was, so I guess we're just skipping over Metal Sonic then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not going to have the chaotic combo. What is it? Charmy the bee. There's like the alligator guy. I don't remember.
Vector the crocodile and SPO the chameleon, I think
it is. We're not going to get them all. What about Rouge the Bat?
Well, hold on. Knuckles is getting an HBO Max spin-off series.
Shut up, really?
Oh, good.
Yeah, and No, I'm not. I'm not kidding.
I thought you were.
I remember hearing about that.
No, it's really happening, and I hope it's going to be like I hope they're going to do a Knuckles Chaotix thing, so they have like the SPO and Vector and Charmy. That'd be fucking sick.
Yeah, or Cream. I like Cream. She's cute. Or oh my God, if they add the Chows, oh my God, that'd be so cute.
How have they not had Amy yet?
I feel like she's got to be in the next one. It's going to be like
for sure, yeah.
She's going to be all like Yandere and shit with the hammer.
I know for real. Like I did honestly. I was
Sonic anymore.
Shut up. We're talking about Sonic.
I'll do it for you. No, I was like surprisingly hyped when they showed Shadow because I'm like, okay, this is going to be cool. But again, like it did make me feel like we were going to be missing like, you know, parts of the story, like Sonic Adventure 1 with like Chaos. I thought that was a really cool, fun, like the you know, that big like water monster, that guy who's like collecting the emeralds. So in a way, I'm kind of bummed that we're like, I feel like they could have saved Shadow for a little bit longer.
But Shadow's like a fan favorite, and they probably don't want to wait like a couple more movies. They're like, okay, we're gonna get Shadow in here because people are gonna like.
Because I think they could have like
Shadow with the gun.
They could have easily done Amy in the next movie with like perfect chaos. And maybe a couple other elements.
Oh man, there was There was some kid in the theater with us who, when they showed Shadow, he said, I forget what he said. I wish I could remember, but he was like, oh my God, and he said something completely different from Shadow. I totally forget what it was, but he was
it's
so
Silver
excited. And he yelled out something completely different. And I was I remember laughing so hard.
Actually.
I love that your story was I laughed at a kid in a movie theater.
I just thought it was funny because it's I remember
seeing
doing
a Sonic movie.
I've definitely done embarrassing shit like that in a movie theater before, as a kid, for sure.
I thought that the credits sequence was the best part of the movie. When
it was cool.
It was.
The credits was the best part. Cool. All the little animations, and they're cute.
Yeah.
How much you want? How much?
Yeah, that was super cool. That was cool.
How much you want to bet the Mario movie is just going to be sprites of all the characters running around and to a Tyler the Creator song?
No, it's going to be Lizzo or something. Going to have some fucking, I don't know, something about Lizzo screams
featuring Chris Pratt. Yo, I'm Mario. I'm here to say I'm plumbing all day.
There's just something about Lizzo's music that is just reminds me of Illumination, and shitty, no artistic merit animation.
Well, she kind of looks like a minion, right?
Honestly,
I'm not going to say anything about Lizzo. Just that she makes music that seems like it would be in the Mario movie. You can take
Honestly, I've seen some reviews of the new Minions movie where it's the Minions are annoying, but there's the gags aren't all that bad.
I'm not fucking falling. I'm not falling for this.
Were the reviews written by teenagers wearing suits, tenting their fingers?
I'm not falling for this fucking viral marketing. I didn't do it with Morbius. I'm not gonna Morb, and I'm not doing it with the Minions. I'm not gonna be a gentle minion. I'm not doing this shit. It seems
I don't think it worked for Morbius. They tried to bring Morbius back into theaters, and it bombed a second time.
I know, that's really funny. Because I was no.
When Sonic got the 7 Chaos Emeralds, I didn't I don't even know why. I'm he's not going to go Super Sonic in this movie. And then he did. And then he started when he's fighting the giant Eggman robot, I was this is amazing. This is fucking awesome.
I am glad that you got joy out of this movie. I genuinely am.
No,
I didn't, but I'm glad that you did. I
could tell you. I could tell you guys weren't liking it, and I was kind of hiding my joy a little bit.
You sound like someone that's describing Game 7 of the Cubs World Series.
I don't know what that means.
You think he wasn't going to catch the ball. I was sitting there the whole time. He's not going to catch the ball. There's no way he's making this run. And then he made the run, and I was like, what?
Grant, I don't know what the fuck that means. I don't know
Sonic
anything about sports.
Turning Super Saiyan.
That Sonic turning Super Saiyan is more hype than some dumb fucking... I don't even know what World Series is for.
Do you understand the word metaphor?
No, but I don't understand the metaphor because I don't understand sports metaphors. I don't know.
What did you guys think of Jim Carrey in this movie?
What?
What did you guys think of Jim Carrey in this movie? You thought he was still pretty funny? Because last time we said, we reviewed the first Sonic movie, we were if Jim Carrey wasn't in this movie, man, that would have been...
Well, except me. I was the iconoclast. He was one of the things that bothered me the most about the first movie.
No, he bothered me too. You're not that special, Josh. I also didn't... I'm not a big fucking Jim Carrey fan. I don't think that he's funny, and I don't think that he's good. I think that he did better this movie, but probably just because his head was bald.
Yeah.
I just thought he was more of a non-element in this movie. He didn't really stand out to me one way or the other.
Yeah, because Knuckles was more the antagonist for most of it. Granted, he was working for him, but I don't know.
Also, Knuckles was stupider than I remember too. I don't remember him being quite that dumb.
Me either.
Well, he gets tricked canonically. He got tricked.
That is true. He's easily tricked. Yeah, that's true.
Because he's proud. He's a proud echidna. He'd be no one would lie. That would be dishonorable. So
I still don't know how I feel about the voice casting of Idris Elba playing Knuckles. Whoever voiced Tails was fucking spot on. And
you want to know why, Grant?
Sounds spot on, but Idris Elba was maybe it's good. Maybe it's not good. I don't know.
Tails is the game voice actor.
Kevin? Why is Tails' voice so good?
Because it's the voice from the games. This person's been voicing Tails for a while. Right. But then I'm like, why didn't they just do that for everybody? Like, we all loved it. Like, we have to have these big names and stars attached to a project or nobody gives a shit.
Yeah, that's what
is there like a definitive
movie.
Sonic voice from the games?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a couple. It's like changed hands a couple times.
I mean, to me, it's one of those things where it's like whatever the voice is, it's what Ben Schwartz. It just matched it. Yeah, I think it matched as good as I feel like it could have been. Idris Elba was just like I get that they're going for like a big dramatic, but still stupid, silly. Like
you mean this is called baseball?
Yeah, it like grated on me. Like, and I get what they were sort of trying to go for, but I disliked it.
That's a fair criticism. I don't fully agree, but it's.
I don't know if I agree. I don't know what I can think about it.
I can see it for sure. I can see it for sure.
He's not a perfect match like the other two.
But I think that otherwise, I don't know. Pleasantly surprised. I mean, it wasn't a fucking amazing movie by any means, but as far as like video game movies go, it's probably pretty far up there.
One of the better ones, but it's a low bar.
Yeah, I can't think of a very better one besides me and Detective Pikachu.
Hey, Mario, you got some new competition.
Fuck. This is going to be the one time where, like, Sonic just completely mogs Mario. Like, Sonic...
We'll see.
I'm going with...
Again, this is like sports for Kevin. Like that's all I'm trying to say is it's like sports. Listen, it's like they're
gonna take him in the second half. You know, next year Mario's gonna come in strong. You know, Sonic had a good first quarter. We'll see how Mario. I don't know. I'm not really sticking to this bit very well, but does anybody have any final thoughts before we give our definitive ranking?
Josh? Tails was cute.
Oh yeah, Tails was cute.
Good.
Yeah,
Tails was probably the best part of the movie. I think.
He was so cute.
So I hated the first movie, and then like in like the year or so after that movie came out, or like what it was the whole pandemic basically. That came out like right before the pandemic, didn't it?
Yeah, for a lot of people.
It was like the last movie we saw in theaters together.
Yeah.
Before the pandemic. But yeah, I hated that movie, but I got like gaslit by people like talking about it like, oh, it wasn't that bad. It was like pretty good for what it was. And I remember like I never rewatched it, but I remember like I think I got gaslit into thinking like, okay, maybe it wasn't that bad. Like maybe it was okay. And then when we saw this movie, it just made me like I was just like immediately like, oh no. Like I hate this. I still hate this.
I don't believe you allowed for that to happen because, like, I get that, like with everything everywhere all at once, it's like sometimes things are popular, they become too popular, and then people start going, I don't know if it lived up to it. And then on the opposite end of things, like with Sonic, I feel like there were a lot of people that were like, yeah, it was bad, but it wasn't that bad. And then enough people say it wasn't that bad it turns into, I think it was kind of good, actually. It had its moments, whatever, blah, blah, blah.
What helps that we saw a bunch of worse movies, too. Like, we saw Space Jam 2 and like, I feel like I saw stuff that was like other kids' movies that were similarly terrible.
Those don't exist anymore. Right, you don't have to worry about it. That's the good thing about this show. It made me reassess the first
Sonic as like, well, at least it wasn't like the worst thing in the fucking world. So therefore, it wasn't that bad. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but this just reminded me of like, oh wait, no, these are fucking terrible. And so yeah, I don't know if we're doing ratings yet, but I would burn it.
Wow.
Okay. 100%.
Really?
Oh, 100%. Not even a question.
Not even just have little Tails be cute.
Tails was fine, but no, it didn't do anything to save the movie for me.
I mean, I don't have as strong of an opinion as I feel like we're going two sort of separate ways, which is that like the first movie came out, I hated it. I continued to hate it despite what people were telling me that it wasn't that bad. I stayed firm in my stance, and when the second movie came out, I was like, it's going to have to be better than the first one. And I think it was. I think that it checked all the boxes of like at least they did more with it, and it was something, and it wasn't just a piece of shit. And I think it was better, and I agree with Josh that I also would burn it. I think it was terrible. I fucking hated it. Big waste of time.
Damn.
Nico?
Just absolutely terrible.
Damn, I'm not sure, because I like Tails and Sonic were so cute together. But, like, I really hate the people parts. Like, with the cop and his wife and, like, the wedding, that shit was so fucking shit. But, like, I guess, like, I'm torn between low shelf and, like, cart. I'm gonna go low shelf just because, like, the little dynamic with Sonic and Tails was really cute. It was precious.
And I will also be putting it on the low shelf of the library, just below the Simpsons movie and Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yeah.
Because I thought it was fun. It's
embarrassing.
This movie had no damn right being as fun as it was.
Yeah, like,
I was
turn
shocked.
off your brain, man. Like,
I support you two. in this.
I don't
in this
support
insanity.
this.
we're valid.
We are
We're
valid.
heckin' valid.
And I, you know what? I'm going to say right now, I am excited to review Sonic the Hedgehog 3 with you guys.
Yay!
You know, I don't think I can do it. I think I might just.
You don't want to see Shadow?
Episode.
Come on,
Yeah,
man.
you little bitch. You want to see Shadow? You want to see
I had like
Rouge?
I had a horrifying.
Oh, she's gonna be hot.
We'll see.
I had a horrifying thought when we were talking about Shadow and especially his gun. Is that like this isn't going to become like a Joker thing? Is it?
Yes.
Like with how everyone's like,
yes.
Yeah, Joker's going to inspire mass shootings. Is there going to be a whole news cycle? I'm saying it now. I'm saying it now. The timestamp is July 12th. The year of our Lord 2022. It is 8:59 p.m. Central Time, and I'm saying that there's gonna be people saying you're gonna put Shadow the Hedgehog. Oh, he's gonna have a gun. People are gonna be shooting people because of this character. It's gonna happen. Someone's gonna say it somewhere, and it's gonna spread like wildfire.
I could see it.
I'm gonna be the one who says it.
You think they'll give him a gun? Is that a canon thing?
He only has a gun in one game.
It's gotta be a canon thing.
It's in Shadow the Hedgehog.
He only has it.
That's the one game. That's his game.
To be fair,
they could make it like an energy gun or something, though.
I mean,
he was like, I'm guessing they're probably going to do like a Sonic Adventure 2 thing. But that being said, I don't. They've mostly tried to like swipe that game under the rug because they were a little kind of embarrassed by it.
That's shit.
Because it was very, very try hard, edgy product of its time.
Yeah, and that's what they need to do. That's what the people want to see.
But that being said, the fans did not forget. The fans will remember that. And then when Shadow's in the limelight, they're going to be thinking the same thing you were thinking, Grant, and be like, okay, let's remember that gun?
They're going to give him a gun. They're not going. They're too self-aware. They know who they are. They know their target audience. They forced Sonic to get a facelift. They're going to make Shadow have a gun. There's going to be fans are going to sign petitions, and they're going to go, oh, I guess again we'll listen to the fans. We heard your guys' voices. Here's a gun for Shadow, and Shadow's just gonna open fire. I don't want to talk about it anymore.
Well, it's funny that you said that, like, you don't want to see the next one, because I think even I was like, for this one, I was like, guys, I don't know if I want to see this in theaters, and you had to convince me.
I want to see if Shadow gets a gun or not.
But now I think I'm on board. Now I want to see how, like, weird and like, ridiculous these movies can get.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun. It's going to be a ride. But yeah, that about wraps up this episode. Thank you guys for donating on Patreon. Sorry for the wait. We'll be doing these more frequently now. If you guys have any suggestions, I know some people have left some in the Discord for us. We are taking them. Apologies for the, delay in getting to those, but we are doing our best with what we have right now. So we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Goodbye.
See you, Space Fire Man.
Zwick, keep in those awkward pauses.